Well, U.S. troops may be leaving Iraq, but the administration is planning to build up in the Gulf to compensate. And how does the administration further isolate Iran as it apparently pursues possible nuclear weapons? With us this morning, an exclusive, the former director of the Federal Bureau of Investigation, Ferri, who has been very active in the Iranian issue in the past few weeks. Mr. Director, welcome. Thanks for joining us on the Fox News channel this morning.
Good morning. Good to see you.
You know, I mean, they just seem so brazen. You've got this terrorist assassination case. They defy UN sanctions. What can we do you think, about Iran?
Yeah. Well, the regime does not want normal relations. I mean, we've heard this for 30 years. Hatemi is a moderate, and if we would just pull some punches and give them some running room, things would be fine. Their nuclear programs, their IRGC export of terrorism, the latest example, as you cite, a brazen plan to attack the ambassador from Saudi Arabia right here in Washington, D.C., which, by the way, is very similar to the IRGC operation in 1992 in Germany. You remember the Mykonos restaurant, 4 Kurdish leaders were assassinated. It went right back to the IRGC, right up to the supreme leader. So our policy has not worked, and I think we ought to take advantage of some opportunities to not just isolate Iran diplomatically, I don't know what that means, we've heard that from the State Department, but to really promote active resistance to the regime. And we have some opportunities to do that, as we've said publicly now for some time. The MEK group, which is a organized, peaceful resistance movement to the regime, headquartered in Iraq, 3,400 people at risk. They've been attacked now twice by Iraqi forces at the behest of the Iranian regime. Very serious risk to their lives, but more importantly, a great opportunity for the U.S. to really declare and support a resistance movement to this regime. The regime is terrified of this group because this is the organized resistance to its power.
You know, so I'm sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
No, so a lot of us, former government officials, former CIA directors, former NATO commanders, former national security advisors to the president, ambassadors to the UN, chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, have been pushing and urging the administration and the Secretary of State to delist this group, as the Europeans have done, as the UK has done, and again, this notion that we can have some normalization or have some ability to communicate with this regime, which is absolutely out of the question.
And finally, briefly, as you said, the former director of the FBI, you were a judge, you were a U.S. attorney who helped attack the mafia here in New York City. Do you believe that Iranian agents are here now and that they can possibly be planning potential terrorist attacks based on your experience?
Absolutely. They're here. They've infiltrated us. When I was director, at the same time, the State Department put this group on the list. We didn't think it was a good idea. By the way, on that list is not the Haqqani network or al-Sadr's Mahdi army, who've been killing Americans for 10 years. But, when they put the MEK on the list, they also told us to stop fingerprinting the Iranian wrestlers who were newly invited to the U.S. And we said, well, in those wrestling teams, the guy that doesn't look quite like the wrestler, he's the MOIS agent. He's the Iranian intelligence agent in the United States. So, yeah, I mean, they've been here, they're active here, and this is just the latest example of the brazenness and the terrorism of the regime.
Well, they kicked 2 guys out from the UN Iranian mission a couple of years ago, apparently taking videos of bridges and subways. So, as you say, they apparently are here. Ferri, former director of the Federal Bureau of Investigation, we thank you for taking the time to join us this morning here on the Fox News channel.